Hello, everybody, and welcome to ABM Answered, the quick-fire demand generation and ABM video series, or at least that's what we aim for. Today, cool, good Lord. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Janelle Amos, who is the founder and chief strategist at Elevate Growth, and also, on occasion, a great mentor to me personally, and I'm sure many other people. But yeah, Janelle, did I miss anything off there? Do you want to give maybe a bit about your background as well?
I love that intro. I'm happy to be a mentor to you. Wouldn't even call it to that, but just thank you for the opportunity for your time too. Hey, I'm Janelle Amos. Sam hit the nail right on the head. Honestly, former 3-time head of Demand Gen turned entrepreneur. I've been doing Elevate Growth for the last 3 years, helping B2B SaaS companies Series A to C, about 50 to 250 employees, really elevate their Demand Gen strategies and reverse engineer marketing campaigns that drive bottom line.
Even the way you introduce yourself there, I can tell you're a pro at marketing. It's like you've got your ICP nailed. But yes, you're also great at giving me a kick up the butt as well to get my life moving forward, which I love. Enough about me, though. To run you and the viewers again through the rules, Janelle in this case will be given a set of questions to respond to, all about ABM and demand generation. These questions have come from and been based on the data that we collected at Mixed Reality Rooms, where over 1,000 marketers have gone through and told us what their biggest headaches are with these challenges, with these demand gen and ABM. But also in more recent episodes, we've started to include previous guests' questions. So Janelle, are you ready for question 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So I keep meaning to have like some crazy sound effects now at this point, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? But anyway, problem 1, rising paid media costs. So like ad costs, I guess. So my question to you would be like, why is this happening? How do you win? And, surely it's not a smart strategy to rely on just, having the deepest pockets to keep going.
So 1, you don't have to win. If it's too expensive, you can find a different avenue. Normally, that's how best marketing works best, is to figure out a place where other people aren't and use that to its fullest before it becomes saturated. The reason paid media is so expensive right now is because of 2 things. 1, it's saturated. Everybody is paying to play, which ultimately drives up the cost. 2, the platforms are getting more sophisticated, which means they're wanting to ask more dollars and they're wanting it to be more competitive. So they're driving up the cost as well. Doesn't mean that you have to comply. You can go and you can try some other initiatives that may be more budget friendly, maybe the exact same in terms of budget spend, but that doesn't mean that your focus has to be on paid media. I think there's opportunity here to think outside the box.
Mm-hmm. That's phenomenal, and I think we unpack that a bit further in the next few questions coming up. But problem 2 that came in, we touched on it slightly earlier, using AI in demand generation. Like, what if you have experimented with it? Obviously, this is reliant on your experience, but like, what challenges have you faced when trying to use AI in demand gen campaigns? Or on the contrary, what's like worked really well for you, and how are you leveraging AI now?
2 challenges that come to mind. 1, on the content side of things. Some agencies want to entirely outsource content from AI. And for me, I think I can see right through the content when it's written by AI versus an actual human, or at least somebody who a human reviewed what the AI created. I don't think it's acceptable to just do AI generated content like copy and paste. I think that's where it's a missed opportunity and just a challenge in demand gen, where it's becoming too saturated and too much of the samesies. The other one is AI can only do what it knows or what it can source. And so one example is if you're using AI for modeling, for account modeling or ICP modeling, if it's going to go and look into previous data, but you're currently in the motion of moving up market, what AI is going to come back and source back for you for recommendations is not going to be accurate. So I think there's limitations there. In terms of what's working well, a couple things. 1 is the ability to capitalize kind of 24 hours or, automatically, if you will, where previously we relied more on humans. A great example right now is using website traffic visitors who are in your system that have a cookie, and you can identify any activities on your website, and you can create those type of AI generated emails on behalf of a person that can fire based on what the AI is telling us is a strong email to be using at this point of the buyer's journey. Those are sophisticated plays that I think is untapped right now, and a great opportunity for demand gen marketers to work in tandem with sales as well to create those type of unified buyer's journey touch points.
Okay, this is incredible. Question two, we're already onto the golden nuggets. How does that even work? I've never heard of that, but I can visualize it, I guess, from what you're saying. But is it like connecting with like Hotjar or something? So, and then like, is it linked to like a MailChimp, or like, what does that process look like?
So I have two places that come to mind. One is my experience. The other one, I'm stealing somebody else's. So I'll be totally, I'm
That's
not
good.
stealing, I'm sharing, I should say. I would just be very clear. I did not think of this. The first example I deployed for a client using a qualified intent model. So the qualified is the platform. The intent model is the subscription. And what we did is we created target accounts and we identified those inside of the systems. They had Marketo and Salesforce. With the target accounts, we identified the buying committee. So we had everybody on the account for contacts that were rolled up, but we had the contacts tagged as buying committee. So we segmented down a little bit further. It was about 10 or so per account. And what we did is we had a automated trigger on anybody who fit the buying committee that visited the website, say pricing or contact us or demo page, but didn't convert within 24 hours. So what we did is like looked at the previous pages, previous keywords, and use that to craft the messaging on what would be a good high converting touch point on behalf of a BDR for us to be able to do that outreach. Hey, saw you just checking in, here's a couple other resources, and you use that for the response to go either respond directly to the BDR's email or offer the link to the calendar to book a meeting. So for me, that was a play that we actually did for a client. The other one that I recently encountered, again, not mine, I'm sharing, hopefully not trying to steal anybody's light or anything. That company had our B2B platform, and what they did is they took those website visitors and they pushed it into, I believe it was Apollo. There was a data enrichment layer in there to learn more about the person who was visiting the website, and then used Clay for the specific AI generated outreaches that on behalf of a BDR to go that approach. I did not configure that at all whatsoever. I learned about it as I was working with them. They are a client, and I was blown away by that use case, and so I'll advocate for that as well, that I've seen that work well.
That's nuts. Yeah, the Clay workflows are actually insane of what you could do with it.
Yeah.
I'm currently trying to get my head around it. It's quite technical, but yeah, that's super powerful. Problem three, standing out in a crowded market. So, and maybe we'll put a caveat around this. So, like, perhaps the accounts you're going after, you can't justify that one-to-one ABM investment. So if it's not, hyper personalized one-on-one, you kind of touched upon it there, which was really nice. But like, how can you like differentiate yourself when you're doing one-to-many? Or like, in general, what's the smartest way to win here?
I think the smartest way to win is to really make sure you know your audience. Too often, companies are going to do a one-to-many account and just think that the general content is going to suffice to them. I do think additional layers of segmentation have to happen, even at a one-to-many approach, in order for it to be relevant, whether it's industry, whether it's persona, whether it's buying committee. You can't tell me that everybody at that account is going to have the exact same problem and need. It's rare in a B2B long enterprise world that it's common that everybody is copy and paste across all the industries and across all the titles and across all the personas. I don't believe it. Maybe somebody can prove me wrong. I'm open to it. However, I think that once we can do that level of segmentation, we can then map any content or identify gaps. And for me, the content is what's going to be the way you stand out. Most companies don't take that level of segmentation seriously. They don't want to do the work, or they can't based on bandwidth or budget to do those type of strategic segmented campaigns. So they do more of the, we're going to enroll everybody, or we're going to do spray and pray. But the way to win is to do the research, to know your buyers, and to put together content that is meaningful, helpful, and relevant to who you're trying to have a conversation with. Otherwise, just as you would when you walk into McDonald's, for example, and somebody's like, hey, can I have 2 minutes of your time? No. Who are you? Why should I give you 2 minutes of your time? Do I even care? You have to start a little bit more of, hey, what's up? Like, I'm looking to do da-da-da-da this. Like, I know you're this. I know you're that. Would you care to have a cup of coffee with me? Sure, I'll entertain the idea. Just different approaches on how you can go to market. But I think having that foundation will be the first way to stand out. And then from there, of course, creatives, pretty colors, all the things that marketers want to do, but we miss the foundations.
3 out of 3, not bad. Great answer. Also, that McDonald's example has made me a bit hungry. Problem 4, and I quite like this one. So getting clients to lock into subscription models. So obviously, this is typically how all SaaS companies have been built over the last, say, 20 years, maybe a bit less. But at like there's from what we're experiencing, I think is like there's starting to be a lot of pushback with that, and there are companies like Datadog and Twilio, big enterprises that target other enterprises that have kind of like a usage model, like pay for use, which I think is super smart. So I guess this is less of a, I don't really have a question. This is more of like a discussion on what you think about subscription models and like what are the pros and cons of them, and yeah, just kind of like where you stand with it.
Well, I think the reason why everybody wants a subscription model is because it's quote unquote predictable. You can see you're going to lock in a contract for 3 years at X amount of annual recurring revenue. And okay, at least for the next 3 years, we'll know we have this revenue unless they churn. It's predictable in order to say how many do we need for what duration at what cost. Quote unquote predictable, forecastable, I should say. And so that's where all the numbers people like CFOs, right? They like that model because they're numbers oriented people and they want to be able to put, okay, if I want to 10x this, let's reverse engineer and put the dollars in that. And like, now this is how we grow. I think that is both a pro and a con. I think the con to that is companies right now in this world, I think the last 2 years or so, have been cutting a lot of technology due to the lack of adoption and a lack of turnover. And so if you're running a subscription model, that may or may not be, it might be a con for you, right? That you're thinking that you're going to have this forecastable revenue, but then somebody comes in, evaluates the usage, realize that the person who championed it is no longer here. Nobody else in the company is using it. We're going to chop it off. Even if you pay a fee to cancel our contract, it's just not worth it. The fee, the impact of the fee is greater than the amount that we would spend if we just kept it. So I think in a ruthless environment where we're trying to minimize tech and we're trying to figure out how tech can go farther versus trying to go out and just buy all this tech, we're no longer at a space to go and buy all this tech. So what I think the Datadog and Twilio are doing right is doing that usage type of model to where use it or lose it. We can go in and we can be a little bit more modern with what we're seeing individuals buy today and using that to expand or to decrease, but still not just be on the chopping block because we refuse to do a contract that's any more than just 3 years or insert whatever example you want to put there.
I feel like if we, that question 1 and that question 4, I feel like finance is just holding marketing back at this point. They just want the predictable cost spend for ads, or they want the predictable revenue in. And I totally get it. Like, I've also got a finance degree. It would have made my exams like 20 times more difficult if I had to work like the usage of every customer out. Lastly on that as well, would you encourage like a small, let's so you work Series A to Series C, let's start Series A, like the small, on the smaller side. You've got like less reputation than a Series C company. Would you ever encourage the usage based model? Because obviously for a Series A company, they want that predictable revenue because they need to grow. I don't know, like if I was to kind of think about that, I would never know how to determine what kind of pricing model to use. And I didn't know if you have any thoughts on that.
That's a great question. I'm actually a strategic advisor for a company that is at the Series A level right now, and they're on a usage base. So they have different tiering models based on the usage. So if you want to just do this, or if you want to just do that, or how many users you need to be doing it, or if you just want this feature versus that feature. And as you expand the usage, the tiers and pricing go up. So they've standardized that, but it's still on a usage platform. And so the strategies that we're working on right now is more of the landing and expanding for that, starting small and building out a couple other campaigns where, hey, if you've got the number one package, like the basic package, and we want to get you into the next one, how do we expand adoption throughout the rest of the company? Here's all the features you can do with it. Here's the cost, the benefits and all those things. But we get them in the door, we get somebody advocating for us, and then we increase the usage and we increase the ways that they could use the platform. And of course, different headquarters around the world, blah, blah, blah. That's a specific use case, I guess, if that's helpful.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think our B2B, don't they do something quite similar? They've got like a very like frictionless, I think it's $99. I think it starts out or something. But yeah, that I didn't actually consider that. It's like you still tier it up and segment it, but based on kind of like features. It's not just one price, depending on how much you use it goes up, because then there are things like advanced security options that big enterprises are going to want, which is extra value, so it will kind of tie in nicely.
But it all comes down to your audience, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you need the SSO security for enterprise, but you're targeting companies that are 1 to 10, that's not a feature that's going to matter to them right now. Like they're just too scrappy to worry about security. Like, I mean, whereas enterprise, they're not going to buy a tool unless it has SSO. So you just got
For
to
sure.
look at what your audience is, who's the end user, who's got the pockets, and I think there is no right or wrong. There's pros and cons to anyone, but you just got to figure out your product, the way you want to grow your product and your business, and how your audience reciprocates that same level of knowledge and usage.
And that is why you're one of the top dogs, huh? Yeah, I should have come to you a
Definitely
long time
not, I
ago.
would say, but I appreciate that. Always humble, always learning.
Well, talking about the top dogs, we're over those questions now. We're on to questions from previous guests, the last
Okay.
three. The first came in from Vasilios Kospanos, who is the EMEA and APAC regional marketing manager. I think he's leading the charge over there for BugCrowd, which is a cool cybersecurity company. And he asked, with the demise of cookies coming, brackets eventually, I mean, it's been coming for a long, long time. Intent data is obviously going to take, a big hit. It's going to be limited. I think it's more, I mean this in a lovely way, like the Wild West in the US as opposed to Europe where it's much more regulated. But I think, it's coming. What are marketers doing to prepare for this? And also back to the B2B example, they let you know who's on your site. And like you said, you can plug that into a Clay workflow and all of that stuff. Clearbit do the similar thing. But I think our B2B are the ones that took it to the extreme. I think, Clearbit allow you to identify it at an account level, our B2B at like an individual level. Ethically, let's talk about that as well. But yeah, let's start with the intent data question. 6 Sense, demand base, all of that. What should marketers be thinking about with kind of this upcoming change?
I think first we need to define intent. So there's a couple ways intent could be defined. One, you'll have intent such as G2, for example, where the intent is very much based on somebody visiting a G2 hub, some sort of G2 page. And then it looks into whether it was your company page that was visited, a competitor's, or whether they just searched a term. That's one, is more just like keyword search. You have other intent where it's based on website activity. So let's use 6 Sense, for example. You can see on account level how much a website has visited your, how much an account has visited your website, excuse me. And then it'll give you like an intent score, like hot, cold, or warm. Qualified does this too, based on the activity in terms of like the intent that they have to buy. And for me, I think a third definition is the intent that they're actually giving you. And that was the use case that I used earlier about using the first party website cookies and the activity of a person. I'm a firm believer that we need to be reverse engineering our targeting. So the clients that I've helped work on demand gen strategies, we've identified our account list and our contact list and our buying committees. And we use that as a central targeting for both marketing and sales. So what we do is we go and we tag those contacts in the database of who's a priority for us. And from there, obviously, as we get cookies, we have activities that are more, one to many, more at scale, trying to get any contacts that haven't been to our website yet onto the website. That's the first point of activity. And then the next one is once we're on the website, for me, the intent to buy, that's the next level of definition. And that comes to visiting the pricing page, but not having converted, or visiting a demo page and 24 hours go by and they haven't converted. Visiting the website 10 times in 30 minutes, that is a different intent to buy. And so creating those like trigger-based campaigns, that's what I've been calling them, based on the intent that we're given, based on that first party data, that's my favorite model because it's based on the first party. I'm not going out and asking somebody to de-anonymize website visitors for me. I'm doing respective marketing, ethical marketing to get them to the site, attract them in the right way. Then I establish the cookie, and then we do what marketers do when we follow you across the dark web, right? So and then we pounce at any opportunity that we get. But I like to take that approach because it's a lot more ethical. And I'm working on the same signals that the buyer is giving me versus trying to create specific, hope campaigns is what I like to call them, and hope that they'll come this way. Like, hope is not a strategy. I digress.
No, that for sure. I like that ethical marketing as well. That's nice. See, you some marketers out there have hearts. That's good. But also, when you've got a big boss coming down on you saying, we need X, Y, Z. It's there. I don't know. There is a chance to cut corners. Yeah, I think it's good. And I think there's a delicate way of balancing that, right? Of not like interrogating them for visiting like a website. Like there's a way that you can continue to add value rather than give it to the sales team to just like call them straight away. Conscious of time, but we are 2 questions away.
Okay,
the question 6 came in from Davis Potter, who is the CEO at Forgex. You're probably familiar with that. He asked, how do you see the convergence of demand gen and ABM taking place?
This actually stems from, I had 13 interviews in 2 days when I was at 6 Sense Breakthrough, 2 weeks now. Today's October 21st. And the common conversation and the common theme that came up in every single one of those was one-to-many account-based experience activities. And so what we're doing, which is what I was just talking on, is reverse engineering our playbook. Instead of saying, here's our ICP, marketing, go get them, we're going to be strategic and do the work first and do more account-based. It's still going to be more in the larger umbrella for marketing. But in order to really solidify your targeting and maximize your budget, doing that reverse engineering exercise first and then going out into market with your plays is a lot stronger of a play than hoping you can attract somebody on your website just based on a couple of key ICP.
And I guess that comes back to the segmentation thing that you're very bullish on, and understandably so, right? Question 7, and this is one of my favorite questions that's ever been asked, was from Emily York-Gubney, who is the Strategy and Business Director at Clarify. I think it's a demand gen agency, primarily, less ABM, but more demand gen. But she asked, and this was a discussion with amongst her team, if the sky was the limit in terms of budget, and please be as unconventional as possible, what would be your best-in-class recommendation for a campaign to drive account engagement? I guess this comes back to the something like Chili Piper example we spoke about.
If budget was no option, I would do some sort of like some hype event. I don't know, that everybody would want to do. And go to different, like a road show, if you will, and corral different accounts based on the regions that we want to get them to and invite them to join us to do this big, awesome thing kind of for free. You know what I mean? And like, it'd be a no-brainer to show up and get that account engagement and everybody be raving about it and have somebody there to like record it and amplify it socially for like months on end.
I don't think, maybe I took this.
I guess the short answer is throw a party.
Yeah, no, I love it. But also, one thing that I've never seen being done, everyone struggles, is get the people to like the odd event. But has like a company tried that like sequential event where it's like, hey, you're coming on the road with us. Sure, you've probably got family. It might not be for everyone, but like, hey, we've got, I don't know, this is if we're on the party, we got Jay-Z here, Taylor Swift, I don't know, but like some sequential event which is like taking you on a buyer's journey in like different destinations, all expenses paid. I think that is an awesome idea. Like, but yeah, you might have just meant like the one event which is totally fine in the region of the account. I think that's more logical. But that's where my head went.
Oh, we're gonna get to the extreme. I mean, the sky's the limit here, right? That's what you said.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I didn't.
You never know. People might love that idea.
Probably not, because it was one of my ideas. But anyway, last thing. Thank you. You've made it. The last question I asked is: do you have a question for our next guest that you would like me to ask?
How are we juggling everything and staying sane today?
That's also that's a very valid question. Actually, I might think about that one for myself.
Where are other smart marketers prioritizing their strategies? If you had to build a strategy from scratch, what are the top 3 things that you would prioritize today?
That very good question. Very, very good question, because there is too many channels, and I know multi-channel is important. Not even that, you've got planning as well, and like how you prioritize planning. That is a good question, and I think 3 is going to be difficult, but I'll boil it down and pick someone smart to answer it, I think. Janelle, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me.